So, CoSTAR. I could tell you what CoSTAR is as a network, but there's someone else that will tell it better. Christopher Smith, who is the director of the Arts and Humanities Research Council, who have funded the CoSTAR programme. So I'm going to let him speak, and then I'm going to test you on how much you've remembered.
CoSTAR is the largest investment that AHRC has ever made in the creative industries. It's the largest investment anybody has ever made in virtual screen production. And what we're trying to do here is bring together the absolutely best academics and industry professionals in the screen industry to shape the future of an industry so important for our economics. CoSTAR is critically a network. It's 3 labs with a national lab and a unit that is gathering together insight about the creative industries. So the Abertay lab in Dundee is focused on games. Games is at the heart of technological development and innovation across many different sectors. In Wakefield in York, we're looking at the way that creative industries are transforming the way we enjoy live experiences. How can they be made ever more exciting, but also available to people who can't visit in person? And then in Belfast, we're really at the very heart of the most innovative technology for film and TV. The National Lab will bring that together and make sure that every SME across the country that needs access to that kind of technology can get it. And our Insight unit will look to the future and make sure that we're always agilely and flexibly responding to the industry's needs. We're in an economy that needs to grow. Creative industries are worth £125 billion to the economy. They're 5% of our national economy. They make an enormous difference, and they're one of the areas that is growing all the time. By bringing research and innovation together, we'll be making a difference to people in their homes as they engage with what we do, but also in their employment, building skills and jobs, and doing it right across the United Kingdom. This is where the future of our entertainment industry will be made.
So where are the 4 CoSTAR labs?
Dundee.
Oh, well done.
Belfast. York, was it?
Wow, I'm very impressed. I'm going to tell Christopher. His message came across loud and clear. So yeah, the 4 labs that are a physical infrastructure, we have the real-time lab in Dundee, the screen lab at Studio Ulster, and Live Lab, which is the one I'm going to focus on today, our lab, which is based at Production Park near Wakefield. The National Lab is based at Pinewood Studios and will be opening in around 6 months, so they're opening slightly later than us. Then the Foresight Lab is run out of Goldsmiths University. So I just want to highlight that we are a network, so I'm going to focus on the flavour of Live Lab today, but if there's other kind of flavours that you're interested in, this infrastructure is available as a national infrastructure. So what are we as Live Lab? So I mentioned Production Park. The purpose of CoSTAR as this big investment from the HRC, far larger than anything they've ever invested before as a single investment, and the first time they've invested in infrastructure in this way, is building on the success that the UK economy's had in the creative industries working with universities. So there's a clusters programs, for instance. So anyone who knows XR Stories in York was a clusters program. So they've been shown to be really successful. These relationships between university and industry. CoSTAR wanted to push that even further and flip the model on its head. So instead of companies coming to the university and engaging with us, they wanted to embed universities at the heart of the industry so that we could really be challenged to stimulate and innovate in the industries that we're supposed to be supporting. And that's where Production Park comes in. So York has a really strong track record of research in live performance, music, psychology, across lots of different disciplines. Production Park is a hidden gem. Who knows about Production Park and what it is? You have to put your hand up, Richard. Excellent. So Production Park is a campus of industry based near Wakefield, which is the largest campus of industry dedicated to live performance in Europe. So it is where artists can go and ideate, create, build their tours and rehearse their tours on the site. So you saw some pictures of the site in the drone footage from that film. And they can go there and they can, from end to end, from ideation through to putting their tour in a truck to go out and deliver their world tours. So we're talking Beyonce, Spice Girls, Robbie Williams. They've all been through Production Park. And yeah, I know. It's a very, very special place. And they also have, which you'll be able to see if I show this video while I'm talking. So this is Live Lab on Production Park, and this is inside Live Lab. We're really, really lucky that at Production Park they already had a virtual production studio, a commercial virtual production studio, which we've been able to incorporate into the offer for the CoSTAR Live Lab. So we're able to bring together, through a 50-50 partnership between the University of York and Production Park, we're able to offer something really, really special, along with all the other partners that come along with CoSTAR. So what you're seeing in this footage are some of the spaces that we have. So CoSTAR is an infrastructure project. So what we were challenged to do was to create a research, development and innovation facility that could support the creative industries. Okay, that's the CoSTAR stands for, oh, I wish I hadn't started that. Convergent Screen Technologies and Performance in Real Time. You will notice the P is silent, but it does a lot of heavy lifting for us at Live Lab. So it's all around convergence of technology to stimulate the creative economy. And that's where what we've had traditionally is innovation in silos. So the gaming, we've had screen, we've got live, but actually what's happening is we're reinventing the wheel often across those sectors. And if we converge those technologies, we can truly innovate. No one ever sits and watches telly without their mobile phone anymore. We don't go to gigs and expect to not interact in some way, either with the outside world, with each other, or what's happening on stage. So we're reforming how we engage with experiences. And so at Live Lab, I'm going to play that video again, just so that you have something to look at other than me. So at Live Lab, that was our task. What can we build that will allow people across sectors in the creative industries to come and innovate and truly push the boundaries of what's possible? So we've separated our lab. So what you can see there is our future venues stage. And we have a partner, L Acoustics, have provided a surround sound system that gives us the state-of-the-art in surround sound with their Elisa system. We have full motion capture available in the central space, marker-based and markerless motion capture. So we're on the Vicon Pioneer program at the moment, testing out their latest technology. We have 2 network labs, which are basically massive concrete bunkers. I'm not selling them well. They also have surround sound systems and marker-based motion capture inside them. So what we have here is Jamie Cullum singing, yes, he's in the presentation stuff. Jamie Cullum singing on stage, and he's performing with 2 performers that he can't see or hear that are locked in our network labs, and they're performing over a new piece of technology, the company that we've been working with on a KTP with the university. So we have this infrastructure. It's all underpinned with a private 5G network so that we can look at state-of-the-art networking capabilities, look at how users are using mobile phones in audiences or with performers. And the other thing we have is a user experience lab. So you'll notice we have a nice big team. we're not just about stuff. We've got some really nice stuff, but it's not just about stuff. It's about the people. So we have incredible expertise across AI, user experience, who bring various different disciplines that they can then support research and innovation. So our user experience laboratory can look at different means of how we respond to certain situations and how long it takes, for instance. So in networked music performance, we're interested in how quickly can we get data from A to B so that our musicians can perform naturally together. But actually, I might be able to get my audio data to you quicker than your visual data. And that might be okay if we understand the psychology behind it and the perception behind it. So we look at all those levels of research to be able to then inform the technology innovation. So, that technology and innovation and that foundational research is supported by a Centre for Doctoral Training, which then has additional partners that are plugged into CoSTAR Live Lab. So we have these networks of communication and innovation across large companies, global corporations, all the way down to SMEs and startups. So we have 11 PhD students working on those foundational problems about understanding people, understanding how they interact with technology, how we interact on a kind of live basis. We're Live Lab, and what we're interested in is what makes the essence of something feeling live. So that might be how fast can we get data to flow, but it also might be how do you react because I'm in a room with you now, rather than people that are watching from home, or indeed watching from home at a later date, and knowing that we will all respond differently to the situation, and we want to unpick what that's about. So that's the kind of foundational research that's happening. Across the CoSTAR network, we then also have programs of activity. So the national lab coordinate across the whole network these two main programs. The first one is the Enterprise and Commercialization Program. There will be various routes across the next 4 years as to how companies can engage with us through this program. We've been open since February last year, and so we've run 3 parts of the Enterprise and Commercialization Program so far. The one I want to highlight today is the Ideate program. So in the summer last year, 24 companies, SMEs and startups had to apply a transparent process, so you could apply to be part of any lab across the program, and were incubated at the different labs across the UK for an 8-week program, where they had various pieces of training from Codebase, and also were based at the labs and could be integrated into the teams, talk through their problems, and some of them did more technological based challenge stuff if they needed to. Others may have wanted to talk through, can I use AI in this bit of my workflow, that sort of thing. So we had volumetric video. They were interested in volumetric capture systems that could be used, for instance, in the home. So how can we capture spaces and people within those spaces using simple video camera technology, for instance. Kingby Animations, an animation company. We have the Grey Hill, who are interested in, they take data around theatre companies and then use audio books to engage more audiences. I've described that really badly. I'm going to stop describing what they do because they're much better at it than me. Extra Reality are looking at mixed reality walking tours, and they're the one that have a video that I think is quite interesting to show you how they used our infrastructure while they were on their Ideate program.
So here we are at CoSTAR Labs at Production Park. We're going to head inside the lab. We're filming our first motion capture shoot today. It's very exciting. We've got lots of things happening all around the laboratory. Over here is where they create the metahuman, which is just on the screen over there in the background. You can see that's still being created now. Over here, we've got the sound guys with the backing tracks going into the studio. Right here, we've got all the markers for the motion capture suit. So this is Rachel. She has been markered up. We're also doing some extra hand tracking. So we've got full hand tracking on this so we can get the whole body, really. This is the studio. This is actually Rachel singing, and these are all the cameras that are going to pick up everything in the studio. So we are very excited to be about to record the first lot. So here goes.
So a nice little walking tour of the different things that they were using to test out the content that they can then use in their tours. So that was the Ideate programme, very much an incubation programme for companies. The other stream of funding that CoSTAR offers is through the Pilots and Prototypes programme. So over the next 4 years, there will be various calls for different pilots and prototypes programs. I'm going to stop saying that. We call it PPP. For that reason, it's hard to say. Some of them are bespoke to labs, but that means anyone can apply for them. So we should have a call out coming out relatively soon that's just for working with Live Lab, but then we will also have some national calls that are themed around certain areas, for instance, AI. So we look at the Foresight Lab, look at what the trends are in the sector that are emerging, and then they shape where the call should be over the next 4 years. We ran a Pilots and Prototypes programme this year, and we had 3 companies come and work with us. It was quite an open call, so we wanted to see who wanted to come and use our facilities. The remit really was that they needed our infrastructure in order to innovate, and that they had a kind of a need to innovate in a technological way to see their creative outcome. So, and also use the expertise in the lab that I mentioned earlier. Precision Devices are a loudspeaker manufacturer. They manufacture drivers that go in loudspeakers. They already had a prototype for a new product. Anyone who came to the Live Lab Unwrapped may have tried it. We had it as a demonstration. So you can see here Joe is on a plate. That plate has the Precision Devices drivers in, and so you have vibratory haptic feedback when you are, in this case, watching an animation. And what they wanted to understand was, what does it do to you? Like, is what they have valuable in terms of our emotional response? Do we respond differently when we have their haptic feedback compared to not? And how also can they use it? Like, what are the different scenarios? And so they did a piece of work with us through this program where Joe, who is our expert in user experience, could use all of his expertise from his PhD to build a program, a protocol that allowed lots of users to come through, and then they can understand their product better and what it does to people. And of course, they can then use that data in their marketing if it tells them what they want it to say, for instance. We then have Machine Earth. Machine Earth are looking at different workflows for engaging audiences with performances. So how can you change that interaction? And they're especially looking at using AI workflows in looking at data. What do you do with your audience data? So there's a nice little video here of them doing a workshop in some of the things that they can do with mobile phones. They were able to sonify in surround sound based on the movement of the phone. So that was Machine Earth, and then the third company, let's not listen to that again. And the third company were Copper Candle. Copper Candle are a company who had the first indie island in Fortnite. So they put musicians into Fortnite, and people, I don't play Fortnite, they go and can watch those performances. So they were the first company to put an indie island into Fortnite, and what they were interested in was looking at the different workflows for how you capture your performer to then put them into a game engine. So what you can see here, they had various different camera setups, so lots and lots of different ways. So from the state-of-the-art technology that we have in our lab down to what happens if we use lots of mobile phones. Okay, and what are the workflows that we need? Where are the pinch points in terms of data processing? Where are the pinch points in terms of quality? So what's the balance that I need in terms of quality of data versus processing power, etc. So that's what they were interested in. And they brought someone, I can't remember his name, he's a TikTok star. I'm not cool enough to be here doing this in this lab, so the rest of the team they know all the people. So they came in and they did a whole day of tracking. In fact, they were in the lab for a week. So that was their sprint. So we call them innovation sprints, and they're funded through the Pilots and Prototypes programme. Those two programs are the funded programs that people can apply for cash to support them to come and work with us, and all of the infrastructure is provided in kind in those programs. We, as a Live Lab, also run an access program so that you can come and engage with the technology, find out what we have, think about how you might want to work with us, if you want to work with us. So we, over the first year, have run our first encounter sessions where we've opened up the lab to anybody who wants to come, and we run demos across all the spaces so that you can see what the technology is and get a feel for it. We also have a Live Lab Presents programme where we invite keynote speakers across the industry, different parts of the industry, not focused necessarily on live, to come and give talks about innovation in their field. We have a YouTube channel and they're all recorded, so if anyone wants to have a look at what we've got out there, you can have a look. We also have a strong outreach programme. We're working locally with colleges. We ran a hackathon last week with Calderdale College, so bringing people into the lab to upskill them, and also getting young people that perhaps aren't aware of the technological complexities and educational needs involved in the creative industries to start thinking about it earlier and to see different pathways through their education if they're interested in different things. So there are formal programs, then people can engage with us in other ways. So over the last year, we've had various companies come and work with us. They may have needed facilities, they just want to come and pay and use the facilities to do some filming or to record some motion capture. There are various different ways we can work with people. Also on research and development. Viridian FX, York-based company, have been in and they've been doing I don't know what I'm allowed to say about it, some work. So they came in and did some R&D with us around a project they have with Apple Vision Pro. Amazing project, I have to say. We had a music and mindset retreat come in. I wasn't in that day, I don't know about the gloves. And Black Meteor, a production company, came in and have been filming a documentary with us around sound and its impact on people and what happens when we perform music together, which is my personal niche. So that's CoSTAR, and just so you're aware of really tangible things that could impact you coming up, we have PPP funding calls coming out, we have E&C funding calls coming out, so enterprise and commercialisation. There will be a new round of ID8 programmes this year. I'm hoping the National Lab don't change the name. This is being recorded, isn't it? But the name might change, but it will be essentially a new round of ID8. For these two programmes, they're part of the national offer, and you can sign up for the CoSTAR newsletter, and they will always tell you when any calls come out. This year, building from our first encounter sessions, we're going to be running Access All Areas events. Same principle, you can come to the lab, explore demonstrations in the morning, get your hands dirty, see what's going on in the lab, and in the afternoon we will run different flavours of events. So the first one on the 24th of February, we'll have Erica Wolf-Murray coming in and giving a present session on the topic of IP. And again, those sessions will be recorded. But the Access All Areas, you need to be there in person because it's about exploring the infrastructure. We are also venturing into skills training, so there will be a session, a skills session on accessible workflows for 180-degree immersive storytelling coming out quite soon, which is a partnership with Liminal production company. Our YouTube channel is there if you want to have a look at the stuff that has been published in the past. So yeah, there's some exciting opportunities coming up this year, but that's not all. We've got more to do, but we are not here to dictate what our research is or what we use our infrastructure for. That's for companies to do. So it's your job now. So over to you.
Thanks, Helena, and good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Gardner. I'm Director of Enterprise Works. It's the Business Growth Hub at the university. I want to take what Helena has done there in the Live Lab and for live performance and apply it to every single person in this room. So the C3 programme, sponsored by, funded by the Mayoral Authority, actually looks to try and allow companies outside of the creative sector to harness the power of creative technology. So all of the stuff that you've seen that Helena has presented there, all of that incredible stuff that we should be so proud is done in York. This is genuinely world-leading expertise on everybody's doorstep, and so that's something that Helena sits there like it's a Tuesday and says, you know, we're just doing this and this and this. Well, actually, there are very few people around the world doing this. It is genuinely extraordinary. And we want to take that and we want York and North Yorkshire to feel the benefit of that and not just in the live performance space. I have to say, I've been told to keep the microphone against my chin and it feels incredibly unnatural. It's like, sorry Ben, again, this is being recorded, isn't it? So what we're trying to do here, and there is a certain level of mental leap that is required here to sort of test your own brain cells, is to look at any element that you've seen today and think, how can I use that in my business? How could I use that? How could that technology be used for me? What could I use it for? Potentially, for example, there's enormous potential here around VR and training. There's enormous potential here around VR and communications technology. The stuff that Helena has talked about around VR and health, for example. And we want to take that VR and that infrastructure capability from CoSTAR and that Live Lab, and indeed any other technology companies that are operating within the region, if there are people doing this type of work, and we want to help companies to adopt that technology. And you will see a little bit later on, we've got a first event to help people to start that on March the 24th, and then what we'll do is we'll do the reverse of that later. So we're then, at the later event, we're trying to help the Creative Technology Centre adopt technology from outside of that sector and bring it in. So we're bringing in some of the potentially AI's areas, for example, and allowing that into the creative sector. But keep here for now, stay here for this moment in time as we look at trying to work out how we're going to do that for the companies. I'm contractually obliged to say thank you very much to the Mayoral Authority, but I'd also like to thank specifically Tech York for the obvious links through to this technology, York Central and the Western North Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce, who are our partners in this project. So, if you look at some of that virtual reality technology, if you think about how that might be used in your business, does that give anyone any ideas? Put your hands up, please. Good, Helena, brilliant, right? None of you can think of any way that that might be used in your business. Push yourselves, I dare you. Motion capture, come on, let's think about it a little bit. Brilliant, everyone's looking at the floor, let's go home.
Well, it's not connected with what I do. It's connected with the project that I want to set up. And I'm talking to York Art Gallery about having children write about the pictures, and then I've got a technique called poem lines, which I've used for many years, to actually create poetry. And I'm thinking, bring that group of children with the writing, connect them with musicians, do all the weirdy, wonderful, amazing, magic-y stuff, and that would just be stunning. And they could, and also, it can create a book of poetry.
Education, kids, arts, what's not to love about that?
All connected with pictures or objects in the art gallery here. And if you get children coming in, you bring their grannies and granddads and their aunts and uncles, and it increases people coming in. And it gets them thinking about how you look at a picture and what you see in it.
Yeah,
and Ben mentioned a photograph that he took, and I'm just going, well, two. And I'm just going, yeah, that would be brilliant too. But it's looking to see how you can bring dance into it and just magic, wonderful things.
There's definitely potential there. You know, that's the sort of area where there is an interest, undoubtedly. Come on, Andy, are you going to be brave?
I'll give you another one. So, my company deals with a lot of AI training in Copilot, Microsoft Copilot. We could build an avatar that takes 10 keywords that you want training on this, or you want to solve this problem, and you want to know how to prompt efficiently an AI ChatGPT type engine, and then you can create that virtual avatar to actually deliver that training back to you and teach you how to do it.
Yeah, potential there as well. You know, I have been asked on occasions here to provide case studies. And there are examples, you know, there's health and mental health that Helena's been doing. The whole point here is that actually that's partly for the companies to do. We can't create case studies of stuff that doesn't exist yet. The point is we want to try and push this technology, and we want to try and push it. People are getting a bit braver now. This is terrific. I've got a hand up. Thank you. I was dying on my backside if no one engaged with this in any way, shape or form. Go for it.
I'll give that a go. Okay, so we work with primary schools around the world, and we usually deal with pre-literate kids. So we teach them with music. So we have every single thing in the curriculum that we need to teach. We have songs for, with actions and gestures, all the good kinesthetic and good teaching stuff, which is really cool. Because of AI now, we can produce music a lot faster. We don't have to produce one album a year, we can do 10 a year. Our biggest bottleneck is animations to go with it. So, because obviously that traditionally takes a lot longer to do. But if you're doing motion capture of very simple things, and you can use AI motion capture to then animate things in a much quicker way. You can feasibly do something that took a month in a week or an hour.
Yeah. And you know, I mean, that's application of AI in a particular area, but there are lots of opportunities here. The way that we've set this up is the 24th of March. Phil Adlam is the Chief Technology Officer of Production Park, absolute oracle of all information to do with this technology. He's going to come to York on that day and give a keynote about how this technology may develop over the course of the next 20 years. So as part of that, you can see where this technology is going, where the trends are, what the arcs are, and to enable an understanding of where that might go for your business. Then we'll also have innovation specialists in the room to do a couple of exercises to try and help you put that down a little bit more clearly. And then we will give you opportunities, as Helena already said, to play with the kit, which is undoubtedly the best part of the whole experience. But there are then opportunities for you to engage with CoSTAR or potentially any other organisation that we can connect you to try and enable some of that work to take place. So if this is something that is potential for R&D, there are very strong connections, for example, with CoSTAR into Innovate UK or into research funders, or indeed venture capital firms or anything along that sort of lines, because there's connections there with funders and investors, for example, from the National Live Lab. That event takes place on the 24th of March. We will do other ones later on in the year, and I hope over the fullness of that time there will also be an opportunity to go to the to Production Park site and actually have a look around and have a play yourselves, because it is absolutely phenomenal. How many of you have seen Adolescents? Yeah, okay, Rachel, brilliant, lovely, there we go. You're all a bit scared of putting your hands up here, isn't it? I won't back it, don't worry. That was all done at Production Park. They've done some really genuinely amazing stuff there, and it is, for anyone that loves tech, it really is like Nirvana. It's absolutely fantastic. Very happy to hear anybody's ideas, very happy to hear ideas from anybody. If you want to join the cluster and be informed about those events that I've already told you about, then please do sign up on there. But we want to try and get some of that innovation taking place, to try and create some new ideas, to try and bring some of the technology, some of the brilliant work that gets done outside of that sector to some of our businesses in York and North Yorkshire. Thanks very much, folks.
Did you answer whether or not this was for just UK, just York or York?
The funding is aimed primarily at York and North Yorkshire companies, so that has come from the Mayor and Innovation Fund, so they would be priority number one. There's no reason why you can't have a separate chat with CoSTAR and investigate some of those business cases, Andrew. So, that's something that you just happen to have heard about because CoSTAR's in the region. So
it's worth saying as well, though. So, Wakefield Council are a partner in Live Lab. Our KPIs are national. So whilst we are very keen to build regional strengths across York and North Yorkshire and West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire, actually, so we're really keen that this is a white rose.
What about the East?
No, not interested. Not interested. No, we just won't talk to them. But well, yeah, genuinely, and the East. But we are national. That is our remit. So whilst different pockets of funding support growth in different regions, then yeah. And we're very happy to take support from the East to grow there too.
I was just going to say, any further questions? I mean, this is a really exciting topic and really exciting that we're getting this event coming to York, I think. So hopefully you will all want to join the cluster, come along to the first event in March, which I think is going to be really interesting just to see it in action and get more of a sort of a hands-on feel for it. Any further questions for Helena or for Sam? No?
I'm intrigued at what you all do. So when I have a drink, please come and tell me, and I'll set the challenge as to whether I can find a link. I'll take the challenge, not publicly.
I had a question actually. What kinds of businesses are you sort of hoping will turn up to the event? Is there a particular flavour sector? Is it as broad as, is it tech businesses, non-tech businesses that want to get into tech?
I think tech businesses are particularly well positioned for this. I think that with already that understanding of tech, I think that's certainly a likelihood. We can see really easy connectivity to the medical sectors here. The arts and the creative technologies, obviously there's a link there already, but tourism, for example, and culture, that feels like a strong link to museums, for example, for how this might be used. I will also say again, I don't want to dictate this. I don't want to say this is the examples that we've seen before, because actually one of you might go, we might be able to do this. And actually that might set off a whole chain reaction of other ideas from other people. So there are plenty of areas where we can see possibilities for that. But what we want to really try and do is just let people use their creativity, use their imagination, and to try and bring forth those ideas, because you just never know what's going to happen when you get a room full of people. A man who knows pretty much everything there is to know about the creative technology and tell you where it's going to go, and you guys applying that to your own companies and your own experience, and that's, we think, is where the magic happens.
I suppose the only thing I would say that to the audience then on that is spread the word, right? Because you know people that work in York, maybe work in sectors that are completely unrelated to tech at the moment, but may fall into some of the areas that Sam's just mentioned. So in your networks, it would be great if you could connect and let those people know that these events are going on, because I think, to try and maybe persuade a non-tech business to come to a tech event takes a bit of a leap, right? But you guys have seen what Helen has shown tonight, and actually it's really exciting. So if they're able to give up some time to actually come to the event, they'll really get a flavour of, what the possibilities are potentially.
Are you streaming the event at all to anywhere else, or would you like any support in that? So I'm at NatWest, we've got offices all around the country. We'd be very happy to help if you don't already have any streaming across the country to make it.
That's an interesting possibility.
We don't have the budget to stream, but if you could help us do that, that would be awesome. Thank
you.
Yes.
A technical question. Can we sign up to the cluster not on this QR but via an email?
Yeah, I'll send you an email. Louise?
Yeah, I guess tech and non-tech industry, give people a starting place. Is there anything where perhaps there's a useful question or top 3 tips of kind of where to start with this? I'm just trying to get a handle on it.
Sorry, I don't think I heard the start of that question.
Oh, sorry. If you're a tech business or perhaps even for the non-tech, you mentioned visitor economy, tourists before. If where can people start with this? I absolutely understand your kind of need and want to kind of not almost supply answers. You want to just see where it goes, and that's brilliant. But how can you get people thinking? Is there a good question to kind of pose, or top 3 tips? Or
what I'd do is I'd point you back to the videos that Helena has shown already to see some of that technology. So for example, I haven't seen some of that motion capture. Well, just looking at that for a second, that looks like that might have applications in surveillance, for example. There might be applications there that some of the technology for the tracking that feels relevant to potentially IT companies or the sort of that sort of defence area. I don't think I can give you a top 3 tips. But I do think that having a look through the stuff that they do on CoSTAR to start to explore it, and what I'll say is that come along on the day, because then when you will get to experience it. I think probably the easiest one is the VR. That's the one that I think people can relate to much more quickly. And then, okay, how could you use those VR? If this is, I hope I'm not going to say the wrong thing here, Alan. This is me talking about your expertise. If you could get VR that was essentially lifelike, how could you use that? And immediately, communications, for example, that's one that feels very relevant here. Can you imagine a world without Zoom, where you didn't need Zoom anymore, and actually you could just do it across VR and it would look like you were meeting in person? Now there's a fascinating conversation about how we'd relate to people in that situation, but it's...
If you go back to the example of Jamie Cullum at the launch, so he was using a piece of software that is now released as a free beta. If anyone wants to try it, it's called Bonza Music, and it's sort of what you've just described, Sam, but it's for musicians. But the special thing that we added was to make it sound exactly as if you are in a room with other musicians. So if you wear headphones, then it's binaural mix, so it's fully outside your head, and you can position on the screen where you want the other musicians to be. You can design your studio. You can say, I want to be in this acoustic. And there's a lot of work that goes into the back end of that, which is looking at networking itself. And transporting of data over networks. It's looking at network protocols. It's looking at, are you looking at a peer-to-peer system, a client-server system? So there's fundamental comms stuff in there, but it happens to be that company has a creative endeavour, which is it wants people to be able to make music as if they're in a room together. And the most important thing for that is the sound, actually, rather than am I visually in a 360 environment. So for me, it's about capturing what's the essence of what you're trying to do, and can our technology, which is in some way trying to get to the essence of human beings, then feed into that. Either from a knowledge economy point of view, we can tell you stuff that you need to know about humans that will mean you can use technology well, or fundamentally about the technology itself. How do you get lots of people in a room with their mobile devices communicating with each other in an art gallery without them having to sign up through several different types of protocol, and it's just too hard, right? So sometimes what we're trying to do is just make tech easy to use.
Yeah.
They're not fundamentally hard technological. We're not trying to innovate autonomous robots, although we are doing that as well. But we're not. That's not the point of that question. It's, can I make an application that anybody can open and use straight away? So that might be the question. You know, I just don't want technology to be hard. Well, that's about humans, and it's about being creative. So that's one example. We had some people come through Production Park. They saw a set being built. Don't worry, Rich won't say what it was. They saw a set being built, and they kind of looked around and they're like, well, that's a lot of stuff. Like, they're robots. They're all robots. Every light in this space is a robot. And all those robots talk to each other and change their shape and what they're doing in real time. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because there's other sectors that are using robots and that need that information to transport. But because the creative sector is just in it for itself, it's because it's fun, right? It's great. If you can make your living there, why not? But there's so many crossovers that we could have. And Sam mentioned medical. So I always make the argument that when you're doing comms, so remote surgery, for instance, network protocols again, latency, accuracy of data, really important. Musicians, we can get it wrong over our network. No one's going to die. But we are really accurate, really accurate. You will be able to tell me if I've got something wrong, because you'll hear a pop or a click or a very, very, very small delay. No one's going to die. Try it on remote surgery first. That's more dangerous. So do it through the creative sector, get the technology working, and then transfer it to something more risky. So there's lots and lots of different ways. So yeah, I'll stop talking.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. So I'm a trustee of a charity in York which is called My Sight, and they work on behalf of people with sight loss issues, and that comes in many different forms. It's not just a blind or seeing, there's all sorts of things. But that lack of sensory perception can make life close down and become quite lonely. So I'm interested in the psychological aspects, and the haptics is interesting as well, because I'm always thinking about feedback loops with that. But I'm curious about the psychological research you do around humans and perception and the way that we receive information about the world. Yep. Is there any areas where you're already doing projects?
I think, shall I answer this question?
Should I? I don't know why I didn't know that was true. Okay. So on that specifically, there's a really interesting piece of research. It's not my project, so my co-director, Gavin Kearney, is working with Mariana Lopez in the School of Arts and Creative Technologies. They have a project called Enhancing Audio Description. So one of the things they're looking at is sighted across the spectrum. So and what they've found is they're embedding in different workflows for how you can change the way that we address audio description is what they're looking at in particular, and embedding that in workflows so it's a third-person narration rather than it being an additional come in, stick headphones on and you'll get more information. So there's a really interesting project that if you're not aware of that, I think you would find that really interesting. And in terms of the haptics, that's on the agenda in terms of for precision devices. I know that's one of the things they've been looking at in terms of use cases. Yeah.
And the other mad idea, because my site teaches people Braille, and they actually produce a lot of Braille documents. I'm thinking, how do you translate something that is dots on a page into another experience for somebody who can use it?
Oh, that's really interesting. And you could do, yeah, there's so many things you could do there. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It does suggest generally across IT, because you're doing a lot of work in terms of user experience design and user experience feedback, that most IT companies who have some form of interface to an end user could benefit from that sort of, at least the knowledge of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we have had several marketing companies as well, really interested in our user experience lab. So they're very interested in the biometric data that we collect from people. So we look at things like galvanic skin response, heart rate variability, eye tracking, those sorts of pieces of information. We can also synchronize those across user groups. So we have the capacity to scale up to be able to monitor multiple users. So for marketing, etc., it has, really interesting implications. You're right.
As well as testing, I would have thought as well, user experience testing.
Exactly, yeah. Yes, exactly that. And that's kind of how Precision Devices used us in that sense. And the nice thing about us being fundamentally embedded in an academic approach is it's robust, right? So the people coming through the lab, it's not the same as can I get the data I want to market something. It's we can't do that. That's not what we're about. At the end of the day, it's got the University of York on it. And so everything that we do has to go through a robust approach as peer-reviewed academic quality work.
I was wondering what applications in finance, just generally.
I don't do finance.
You tell me, do you think there are applications in finance?
Yes, of course there are. There'll be loads.
Brilliant. Would you like to name a couple of them?
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to lay down.
I'm sorry to put you on the spot. You probably know better than we do.
I'd say generally.
The closest I can say is that I know that we use in my academic day job niche research, which is about people performing together and singing together, we use financial statistical modelling.
Yeah.
We apply that sometimes to look at relationships in our data. Like, so this is gonna be completely random, but when people sing together, do they synchronise the vibrato that they sing with, which has implications to all sorts of things around embodiment and what it means to be stood next to someone rather than on a screen with somebody. But we use wavelet analysis and various approaches that I know have come from financial modelling.
Yeah.
But that's the closest I can get. I don't know how it relates to like money.
I think the point is that if you can say, well, what about this, or what about this, or have you thought about this, you just see, I mean, you know, the stuff that Helena does is just utterly remarkable, and just and so it takes so little to spark that idea. We started off all looking at our shoes, going, for the love of God, get off the stage, and now all of a sudden we've got ideas of Braille. We hadn't thought of those ideas 20 minutes ago. That is actually genuinely really interesting. And then it's like, okay, so what can we do with that? How can we build on that? And that's what we want C3 to do. That's what we want to try and start those conversations around. And if we get to user cases for charities, or we get to user cases for companies, brilliant, so be it. We want to try and follow through and use the infrastructure and the capability within CoSTAR and in any other organisations in and around the region to try and make those a reality and to try and experiment with them. Louise, have you got any other more awkward, really, questions that we're going to take 25 minutes to answer?
Great, thank you so much for all the questions, and please put your hands together for Helena and Sam.